You have been a big bull on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We had some folks that some people know on our show earlier this week. Becky was out in Omaha. I want to show you what they had to say if we could roll the tape on Bitcoin from Mr. Munger and Mr. Buffett.
The asset itself is creating nothing. I think it's a scumball activity.
I would short it if there was an easy way to do it.
So there you have it. You have Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. One of them was calling it a scumball activity. The other saying, Bill Gates saying he would short this thing if he could. And you're saying they're all wrong.
Yeah.
Someone is going to develop a very clever product that basically allows you to use Bitcoin effectively like a currency with all of the mechanisms that allow it then to be accounted for properly like a property, but is fundamentally then fungible like a currency.
You have been a big bull on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We had some folks that some people know on our show earlier this week. Becky was out in Omaha. I want to show you what they had to say if we could roll the tape on Bitcoin from Mr. Munger and Mr. Buffett.
The asset itself is creating nothing. I think it's a scumball activity.
I would short it if there was an easy way to do it.
So there you have it. You have Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger. One of them was calling it a scumball activity. The other saying, Bill Gates saying he would short this thing if he could. And you're saying they're all wrong.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, look, not everybody is right all the time. And I think we have to acknowledge that we all have biases. And look, I'm a disciple of Buffett and Munger. And one of the things that they have said for years, which I believe, is you define a circle of competence and you stay within it. And I think it's been clear in his entire investing career that technology is not in his circle of competence. And so the only technology name that he's owned is Apple. I mean, you could claim that IBM was a technology company. That's borderline. I like in a portfolio, again, my portfolio is 99% risk on, 1% risk off. And in that 1% risk off bucket, I think that something like Bitcoin is really important. Why? Because it is not correlated to the rest of the market.
Marc Andreessen spoke here yesterday, and he had a great quote. He was addressing Warren Buffett's criticism of Bitcoin as a mirage, and he said something like, well, my handwriting isn't clear enough to make out what exactly he said. You guys probably know, but it was something akin to comparing him to other old white men who don't understand new technology. I wonder what you thought of Warren's statement, and you know, frankly, like, can you do any better than Mark on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's the best. We got old white men are the best, right? We got Buffett on one side, we got Perkins on the other. They're both kind of good at something, but they're both kind of crazy at other things.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, like, I think he's probably generally true. Look, the reality is.
You think Warren is generally right?
No, I think Mark's right. Like,
okay, Mark.
But as a general statement, like the general statement, which is true, is that we all tend to be dismissive or negative of things we don't fundamentally understand. And I think it's reasonable for a guy who's made $50-60 billion by owning things like Coca-Cola and Gillette to not understand Bitcoin. And forget like the last 13 years of tech as well, which he's also completely ignored. But he's allowed to do that, you know, and he's very successful in his own right. Just like I don't know why I would buy Coca-Cola or Gillette. It just makes no sense to me. My point is, there are lots of ways to make money, and this is actually a really good point. So we have to be respectful of many ways of making money if making money is the goal. I've said that, you know, for me, again, this platform I want to use as a way to drive change in areas that I think are fundamentally broken. And money is my tool for change. So money is a necessary evil. So when I think about doing things, I have to think about it from a broad investing mindset of, can I generate returns? Because if I do, I can take this money and do something really awesome with it. I can fund Alzheimer's research, I can do something over here in education, whatever. So, you know, as an example, like he can go and he can basically own these great CPG names and other things and make money for his investors. That's great. But I think Marc Andreessen can go and invest in Oculus Rift and Box and make money, and so can I. And I think that's all fine.
I've been in the Bitcoin market since 2012, and I feel like I'm in two different universes. I need a passport to go between the Bitcoin world and my regular world. These are not the same people. And what I would tell you is the people that owned Bitcoin in 2012 all the way up to now, the majority of those people view it as a hedge to the traditional financial infrastructure. Whether that's true or not is unclear, but that's how we've all viewed it. Separately, what Joe says is absolutely right. There's a big difference between correlation and liquidity. And the reality is, all of these financial assets in the traditional markets are fundamentally correlated. We saw that in 2007. Everything broke down. Things that we thought were hedges went away. And so I think it's really important to not forget what happened there. So in 2018 or 19, heaven forbid we go through another cataclysmic financial event, we are going to see the same fundamental correlation. And so again, I ask, why would it not make sense to have a non-correlated hedge? For a small amount of this is about buying insurance.
So how does owning Bitcoin affect change?
I think it's progressing a set of financial changes that fundamentally empower a distributed class and disadvantages entrenched interests. And from that perspective, I think we should absolutely want that type of thing to win. And so when I specifically buy Bitcoin, what I'm thinking to myself is I'm using my own personal capital to hopefully prop up and support the emergence of something that would rip apart the existing financial system. And if it does, God bless it. By the way, the other thing is, eventually these retailers will want to do it because, the ability to eliminate credit card fees, what was Goldman's thing was $250 billion a year, and then the ability on the behalf of a consumer to prevent fraud, those are hugely positive aspects of adopting some kind of a virtual cryptocurrency. And so it'll tip. And you know Bezos probably better than any of us in this room. This is a guy that's if you want to kind of scorch the earth and basically take every single ounce of profit and pass it back to the consumers,
no doubt.
This is the most obvious way to do it, over and above vertically integrating and all the other things that he's already naturally doing.
And yet they're not going to do anything that would confuse their customers, so they're going to have to wait until people are comfortable with it.
Yeah, but now I think when you have, like I said, with IRS guidance, someone is going to develop a very clever product that basically allows you to use Bitcoin effectively like a currency with all of the mechanisms that allow it then to be accounted for properly like a property, but is fundamentally then fungible like a currency. And I think that's quite straightforward now.
And for this younger class of entrant into the market, they probably don't want to buy gold. In fact, they don't want to buy gold, and they want to buy something that's much more digital and reflective of their values.
How do you feel, though, about the idea that Charlie sort of suggested, that there's something sort of scummy about that, or that there's a lot of scum in the crypto world right now, and that there's a lot of people who have been sort of sucked into this world, that have bought into this world by some folks who may not be as...
Look, I think it's really unfair to not understand something and then to disparage it. Again, I think he's exceptional. I think Warren Buffett is exceptional. I think Bill Gates is exceptional at what they do. And I think it's fair to say that in 30 or 40 years, if I'm, a vibrant, successful investor, and if I'm back on this show, the idea that I know what's happening 30 or 40 years from now, as well as some other new 40-year-old or 30-year-old entrant into the market, is just not true. The reality is things change.